Why did you start a foundation and not buy a Ferrari?
Oof, tough questions first off the bat. No, look, I was still obviously very young when I started my foundation. We're reaching our 8th year now in a few days. I did it on Christmas Day, 2003. So it's almost been 8 years now, and I remember Andre Agassi once, he was a bit of an inspiration for me, I guess. He said that he wished that he would have started his foundation much earlier, because I think he only started his foundation when he was 28 years old, and we know what great things he does today with his foundation. And so I said, not only because of that, but of course also through my parents, especially my mom, being South African, that me traveling a lot over there and being inspired by seeing such a wonderful country, but of course being in contact with poverty at times, that if I have an opportunity, my mom always said, you know, give it a try and try to give back. It's obviously kind of very simple how it all kind of started. How do you say, the beginning obviously is not the easiest one, to start a foundation at a young age, to take how do you say, control of a foundation and say, you know what, I put my name to a foundation and go ahead. It was a great learning process in the beginning, but here I am 8 years later. I've learned a lot, and I'm really excited for what's to come still.
What's sort of your feeling about where you want this to go?
Well, obviously this is a very different life I'm living today than what I'll probably go through in 10, 20 years' time. I won't be able to chase a yellow tennis ball for the rest of my life, unfortunately, maybe for fun, but not on a professional level. So I obviously, right now I can use a lot of fame I have, and my image, and to also inspire other people, you know, to get into charities, not just my own, but in general, also maybe create their own foundation, or also trust my foundation, what I'm trying to do. So I think it's been it's very different today how it's going to be in the future, but obviously we're trying to double the projects we have right now in the next couple of years, because right now I'm really able to generate quite a lot of money, which I'm obviously very proud about. And then you have to go step by step and always look ahead, because I think the more money you get into a foundation, the more you have to think again, how can you allocate all that money in a sustainable way for a long period of time, because that's how my philosophy is in life, with my family, with my tennis game, so I can play as long as possible, but also in the foundation world, where hopefully this is going to carry on for a long time, and who knows, maybe my kids can also get involved eventually and they can learn things about it.
What is kind of your role when you have such limited time? What do you do? What don't you do?
Well, obviously I'm doing the yearly meetings that we come together as a family, because my parents are obviously very involved, and my manager, Janine. We have a great team. We always get together and debate which projects we should support, how are the projects doing that we're already supporting. I think that they are very important meetings, to set a certain tone and a certain direction we want to go, because I think it's always very important to have baseline studies, knowing where did the project start at and where is it now, because there's, I guess, no good just leaving a project after a few years and say, okay, here you are on your own. So it's very important that we help them create a better future for themselves, also when we're gone after many years, of course. And I think that's something we're really trying to do in a big way. I try to do field visits as much as I can. Obviously, since I've become world #1, that's something I couldn't maybe do as much as I wanted to do, but I did a trip in 2005 to South Africa. I did a trip this year to Ethiopia, and I think I'm going to do more often now that in the future, just because I feel like I need to do this time. It's something I own to myself, to my foundation, and also the people around me who want to see pictures from me in those places, and of course I'd love to, but the time is just so very limited. And then of course I'm looking at different ways to generate a lot of money for the foundation, so we do have more money to give away to the kids who need it more than we do.
Africa is obviously extremely important for you. Can you say a bit more about this time when you were young and you saw what was going on in Africa already?
Yes, I mean, well, for me to take a huge, I consider it a huge step to do my first sort of event now tomorrow with the Match of Africa with Rafa. It's I don't want to say a gutsy move, but it's a big move which I thought about for a long time, just because how do you say, for one day to create this whole event, not knowing are you going to sell out the tickets. Now, of course, it seems all normal that it's going to be sold out and everybody wants a ticket and nobody can get tickets anymore. Now it becomes frustrating. I didn't expect that to happen. So for me, that is obviously very good news. It's frustrating for other people.
My kids are very frustrated.
They are frustrated. Thank God there's TV, you know. But look, that for me is already a huge move, I think, into a direction I didn't do yet in the last years. So I think that's why we're very, very excited from the Roger Federer Foundation side that Rafa, first of all, decided to join us for free, that all the proceeds go to the Roger Federer Foundation. And I think we're going to really be able to generate a lot of money tomorrow, and obviously through the event and merchandising and so forth. I think we're going to really be able to allocate that money in the future in a long-term process, which I'm really excited about. And like I said, Africa obviously for me is home. It's a second home. I have the South African passport as well, and obviously I still like to go there as much as I can. I'll take my kids there, my wife, I like to take her there as well, and just also create, I guess, awareness, you know, at the same time. Then as I'm trying to generate money for my own foundation, but I create awareness as well for other people's maybe to do something good for the African continent, which is very close to my heart.
Can you say a bit more about how the financing works actually of the foundation? I mean, obviously, you provide funds. Are there others providing funds? How does it work?
Yes, of course. There's also private donors who I'm obviously very thankful to, who give me a lot of trust in believing that I'm doing the right thing, which is a great honor for me. But I try not to be dependent on just private donors. We try to create, obviously, our own merchandise, money that comes from me, or that comes indirectly through me as well, through sponsors and different areas where I'm able to really generate a lot of money. So this is really how it's been for the last years or so. This is the first time we're doing this event now, which is also another source of great income for the Roger Foundation. So that's really how we are able to create the capital of the foundation.
There was this nice film about in Ethiopia. Can you talk a bit more about what happened there?
Well, it's very different than winning a tennis match, even though it feels great too, and but it's just something quite extraordinary. The feeling of doing a field visit. There's nothing like going out there and feeling the people and feeling the atmosphere, seeing where did your money really go to, because at home you see pictures. I think a movie like this can be emotional at times, but there's nothing like being there yourself, and I think that for me is a great source of motivation. I don't know, seeing the kids singing, seeing that schools have been built, that a fountain is there now which they can use and also bring home water to their families. The little things like this, and being able to speak to the parents and speaking, to the teachers, trying to motivate them as well, and maybe bring a bit of sport as well into the daily life of all these people. It's so different when you're on the ground than when you're traveling around the world or sitting at home. So that's for me a very important part, and that's why obviously it's huge motivation to do much more, of course, in the future even.
Do the kids in Ethiopia relate? How do they relate to tennis, by the way?
Well, I don't know if all of them knew who I was, really, to be quite honest. Even though I was driving down in the bus from the airport to the project, and there were people who recognized me there. while I was sitting in the bus, and I was actually quite shocked because I really didn't expect it to happen, because I'm not there in a tennis racket, I'm not there wearing my headband and and looking like Roger Federer. Really, I'm trying to just go see for myself, and then you realize actually how famous sometimes I am, and what a great inspiration and role model I can be. And so it's very nice, you know. That's why I had a great chat. Also, it's very important for me to talk to them, to do sports with them, to interact with them. And one question was, one of the girls asking me, how old are you? And I said, what do you think? And she said, I think you're 45. So it was very hard. She thought it was very hard to judge white people how old they are, you know. So I was like, well, thank God I'm not 45 quite yet, you know, but almost, or soon, you know. So it's just very, very nice.
Children obviously very important for you. I mean, I just remember you're always very important after the big games that you thank the ball boys and ball girls, etc. And education is very important. Can you say a bit more about kids and why you're focusing so much on them?
Yeah, I think I grew up obviously as everybody's a junior once, but I think especially in tennis, being a junior, and I used to be a ball boy at the tournament in Basel, and just being there on the court with the big people, with the pros and everything, for instance, was a huge inspiration. And once you get to go and be a sort of a star and a pro player yourself, you start doing kids clinics yourself. So you start playing with the kids, and it's a wonderful feeling interacting with kids. Now, obviously, having my own kids, it's a whole different animal. It's a wonderful feeling. It's so rewarding. It's such hard work, but I love it every single day with my twin daughters. They're running around in different directions now, and so for me, long time ago, that was something for me I really hoped to be able to do once, is to give back to kids in some shape or form. And I decided that education is something that's really, really important to me, because education is not something you can take away from someone. And that was for me the approach I needed, and I'm very happy doing and supporting that.
Mm-hmm. In terms of education and sports, how do you see the relationship? I mean, sometimes kids, you know, seem to be doing too much sports instead of learning, or is it the other way around? Do those things go together very well?
Well, I always thought that sports is a great tool for friendship, for learning how to cope with winning and losing. So for me, I think sports has done, obviously, worked wonders. Now in Switzerland, I think we're always still not a step behind, but sports is still sometimes looked at more as a hobby sometimes, even though then we admire athletes once they make it to the big stage. But maybe early on in their schooling years, it's hard for the teachers or for the schools to really let go of their students and say, you know, why would you want to do sports? Education is much more important. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, the Switzerland approach, but I think it's getting better, and I honestly got very, very lucky when I was 14 years old, or even when I was still in school in Basel. I had great teachers who really had some understanding in what I was trying to achieve, even though sometimes I was laughed at, and I was like, yeah, okay, you might be good, you might not be good, you know. And my parents always said education is hugely important, and when I quit school at 16 years old, they said, if you're not going to be any good the next few years, you go back to school. And I was like, of course I'll go back to school. That's for me logical, you know, because I really think education is very, very important. But maybe we could be just a touch more open here in Switzerland about sports at times. But then, thank God, obviously everything happened very, very quickly. I became world number one in the juniors, and went on to become the player I am today. In Africa, I think it's quite different. I think in Africa or in other continents or countries around the world, you can use sports much more as a tool in terms of, you know, getting people together in a good life, in a better lifestyle, where instead of just trying to make them, you know, professionals. So I think sport has a very different meaning in a country like Malawi, for instance, than it has here in Switzerland.
You mentioned Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf also. I mean, you've had inspiration from there. How did they help, or others help you in the whole effort?
Well, it didn't really help. They inspired me, I guess, you know, which I guess is maybe bigger, who knows, than actually helping me. And that's maybe, I think, one thing I'm also trying to do in some ways is to inspire others. I've already just heard just recently that I've actually inspired Rafa Nadal, my main rival, to also start his own foundation. So I think those are just things I am very happy to hear about. You know, that is, I guess, one of the huge reasons why I'm doing, charitable work is to inspire others because of who I am, because of my reputation, my image, and the means I have right now being so famous. It's a wonderful feeling being able to inspire others. So obviously Andre has had that impact on me. So when I meet very important people, very interesting people, I always try to also talk to him about, the charity aspect. What could we improve? What is his opinion? What is his approach? Get inspired as well. Still today, it's the same I also need in my tennis world. I also still need to be inspired and talked to and helped by others to become a better tennis player. I guess I need the same thing as well in the philanthropy world. To become a better philanthropist, I need also more inspiration still.
So perfect tennis player and then perfect philanthropist.
Try to be. Definitely not yet, but I'm learning a lot and hopefully quickly. We'll see.